What can individuals or companies do to really push the boundaries of culture?
Yeah, I think the first step is to very carefully work through what is culture and what is the culture we need. I frequently will sort of joke, look, culture matters. You can dive into research, but Peter Drucker's quote of "culture eats strategy for breakfast" may be enough, just the sort of declarative statement. So then the critical question is, kind of what culture do you want? And I joke, and even more important is what culture do you need? Because if you're Lululemon and you think what Google does is really, really cool, you don't need a culture that was optimized for software engineers. You need a culture that's optimized for, a large concentration of yoga instructors. Once you've done the hard work of saying, what is the culture that we need, aligned with our business, and so it reinforces that, then you reach the complexity of how do you actually shape culture? Because it's a kind of ephemeral output. And we spent a fair bit of time ourselves at WeWork working through how we wanted to approach our culture as we evolved and grew. And what emerged was then what we called the culture operating system. And we looked at sort of the critical inputs that shape culture. And I could bore you at length on the culture operating system.
The critical elements that shape culture. What are the key levers that you can pull that really shape culture?
Yeah, where we ultimately concluded is there's 8 of them. And they do not comprise foosball, free lunch, and ping pong tables. We say those are perfectly good employee amenities, but if you think they're shaping your culture, they're like cultural confetti. The 8 key pillars, as we call them in the context of the culture operating system, are purpose, so why you matter in the world, and that can be mission, values, brand, etc. Leadership, profound shaper of culture, how your leaders behave versus how they talk. Space, we actually think physical space has a material impact on your culture. Citizenship, the role that you play in the communities of which you're a part and how you enable your employees to participate in those communities. Connection, how you nurture relationships amongst your people, whether those are in-person connection through events and other ways that people interact in the workplace, or digital connection if they're distributed. And for large global organizations, how do you sustain connection across time zone, language, cultural differences, etc. All things talent, from your kind of employee value proposition or your employee brand, straight through to the candidate experience, onboarding, all the learning offerings as they reinforce it, who gets promoted, et cetera, right through what's the relationship with your alumni organization, whether that's formal or informal, like the folks who write on Glassdoor. Something we call agility, which is looking at all of the enablers that allow you to move quickly as an organization, whether that's how you set goals, how modular your organization is, how you your reinforcing mechanisms like feedback, reward, recognition, et cetera. And then finally, platform. I often joke that by platform, we mean all the microaggressions companies inflict on their people, systems, processes, tools, et cetera. Those things, they really shape at a sort of very direct level how your people experience your culture. And so you need to look at all of those and say, are we doing the right thing? So there's sort of that overall system is how you want to approach shaping a culture.